Olá, Rita.
Hola.
Welcome to everybody to the Innovations for the Future Game World Builder interview. Today we have Rita Venturini, and the game world is Tenchi. Rita, thank you for accepting my invitation. And maybe the first question is, what is Tenchi? What is this project Tenchi, in your words?
I guess that the main things come up is the beginning of our manifesto. Tenchi is an epicenter for transformation of humanity. So that's the intention that we put out there, and it seems to continue being the part that inspires people to participate and be here and be connected and discover and develop new ways of creating a culture that is less punishing. I guess that's the first word that comes up. But I guess I also want related with the idea of regenerative, because I feel that this is a word that has been used a lot in these years, and I find quite crucial in the sense that what do we need to regenerate, and what is actually that regeneration is about. And I feel a lot of what we play with at Tenchi is around this question.
Thank you, Rita. Tenchi is in Sintra. It's the area, the place is in Sintra.
It's a physical place to start with.
And you have a surrounding. You have a small forest inside. You have some facilities. Can you say more about the elements?
Yeah. I can say a lot. So the place is 2 hectares of forest, and inside it we have 3 different main buildings. 4 actually. 2 are event spaces. One is more of a dance studio. It's called Zen Dojo. It's about 120 square meters with a nice wooden floor. The other is a bigger space, around 350 square meters. It's called Dragon Dojo. At the moment, is a multitasking space. There is an area with tatami that is used for also movement classes and other events. Is also being used by a school during the week, and there is an area that is more like eating or meeting, and then we have dormitories for people that come here for events and festivals and workshops. And all of it is really embedded in a forest that is also being created with a particular perspective, which was in some sense also a bit it could have been out of place in any place but Sintra, in the sense that there is like we are in Portugal, but it's like a Japanese garden. But given the eclectic nature of Sintra, it fits perfectly here.
Yeah.
And I feel that also being in this area, it's a big asset of the center, in the sense that at the moment, in the last several years, I feel Sintra is really become a magnet for many people that work with different dimension of embodiment or different relationship with nature, different ways of interfacing with community. So it's a really kind of fertile ground for the space. Yeah.
Thank you, Rita. And you talk about Tenchi as a space where we can go and develop ourselves and develop the human side, right? Like this, in modernity, we talk about humanizing. How can we create this culture that we need to humanize ourselves and the schools and the hospitals and whatever? That's crazy. And you talk about that, and there is a particular way that you see that, and you and Tenchi has this proposal of starting with the body, starting with the movement. Can you say more about that? what is the value that is there? What is the embodiment stuff? What is the value of the proposal that Tenchi is putting on the?
Okay, yeah. So yes, like you're saying, we do focus a lot of our work. A lot of the work that happens here is focused on the body, but not in an. It's not that the body comes in as the only thing that the only starting point. The body, I feel, comes in a very specific way. And so part of Tenchi overall philosophy is very embedded in the theory U approach. And the body comes in as a path to enter a U journey and find a place of true presence. So how do we stay in the part of presencing as much as possible in our approach is through having a regular practices and regular attention to the inner state of the body. And that brings the connection with the present, but also I think the connection with nature. So in the body we discover our nature. So we become more human, but become more nature as well. And I think that that's part of what's important from our perspective, from my perspective, in this moment, is that we are not becoming more human in a very philosophical and distant way. We are becoming more human while being in this nature part of humanity that also has its own, layers and wisdom and capacities.
For me, that is one of the innovations for the future, what you are working about and the embodiment. Can you say why it's important in our days, in this moment of the time, for us as human beings to really go through the body and open this intelligence that we have here? Why this is important in this moment of the time, in your perspective?
Well, a really basic reason why it's important that is not maybe now, but is, like for me, this journey started maybe 30 years ago. It was important because our world, our culture is a culture that negates the body, or at least negates the body in terms of its sensing and listening ability and its wisdom. It can be, it's still present with the body in terms of maybe, how the body looks and this kind of much more external perspective. So the body exists in our current culture, but exists as something that you have that could either look good to other people or not, or be efficient and win something and jump faster or higher or longer than someone else, but not as something that could bring us wisdom and knowledge that we need. And the reason, and so this I think ties in to the other reason is not just because the body is neglected in our culture that it's important, is really having the experience and the perception that the wisdom that comes out from the body can really be, is an essential step in what we are going to be facing, what we're facing now. And in terms of when I say what I'm facing now, I think about a few different things. One is our need to shift interaction with other human being. And I think there is it's been paid a lot of lip service on collaboration and the cooperation for many years, but in reality we are not really good at that. We are really bad, our culture does not train us for in any way. It's actually opposite. We are constantly, pushed to be competitive, to do better than these, to speak more than other, and so the body brings a different being, a being that can just be there, can tolerate the silence, can wait and listen to see what wants to emerge. Which I think is the other piece. So body neglected, the need for collaboration, and need of how do we deal with whatever is, with what is. And I feel that, again, our society has been very goal-directed, very specifically about I'm going to set my mind in here and I'm going to keep going and I'm going to arrive there. But there might be something that for the rest of the universe doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so oftentimes there is struggle, there is violence, there is suffering that comes from taking this narrow approach. And the body can allow us to be in a place in which we can just really feel, okay, so now what is the next thing that needs to be happening? Without me thinking it, what seems, if I look, if I sense, if I feel, I will see that there is something that is already there, that is already more than just a seed, is even or maybe a little sprout, and I can water it instead of deciding that I'm going to take all of the weeds out and put in the tree that I think is the correct one. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense for you. For sure will make sense for a lot of us. And for me, it's one of the innovations that you guys are experimenting there in Tenchi. And I also like to, you talk about U theory. I'd like you to talk a little bit the connection between the U theory as a social innovation theory with the body and the practice in the body and the embodiment context, and also bringing the healing inside, how this equation works, and what is the importance of this equation for our collective future.
Okay, thank you. Well, theory U starts by saying that we cannot find a direct solution of something if we just stay in our head and we use the tools, the knowledge that we already have. That's really saying if you want to create something new, if you want to find a new solution, and in these coming years, we will have to find a lot of new solutions. What is necessary is that, first of all, you start to see what you are already doing. So turn the camera toward yourself and look at what type of beliefs and mental constructions we are putting already into action. And I feel that the body comes in already at that level, in the sense that oftentimes we might not be able to really see what we are thinking and how is our thinking shaping our action, but we can see the actions. If we actually take them, if we don't really just only think or write them, we take the action, we see the moments in which maybe there are beliefs that we hold that we didn't know and that they will surprise us. I might feel, I'm totally open, I'm totally available, I'm totally this, but if I'm put in a situation in which I really have to open and accept things coming in at the physical level, I might close down. And so then comes in a reflection of, okay, so what's going on here? The body is a place in which we can see in action what is in our blind spot inside the head. So that's step one, in which the body comes in. And then once we have seen these beliefs and let go of them, because obviously have not created everything that we want, because that's the situation in which we are now. So we have to let go of the beliefs that we had up to the point and find ourselves in a place of openness and not knowing. we can start using the body to sense what is that wants to emerge. So the body comes in both in the phase of, diagnostic of where are and what are the beliefs that I need to uncover in myself and let go of, but also in the phase of research of, okay, all right, so in my body now, I need to turn this way. So what's this way? What do I see when I do that? Is a beginning of approaching whatever comes next through the eyes of what is already there that wants to emerge, instead of just what do I want to do because Rita has this idea, and go in that. And what was the third thing that you were?
The healing part. The healing part.
So the healing part for me comes in two places again, and are these same two places. The first one is the letting go of the belief, the discovering and letting go of the belief, because a lot of the belief that we hold, or some of the belief that we hold individually, and many of the beliefs that we hold collectively come from trauma. So they need to be let go. They come from a history in which we have taken an approach that is not believing that humanity is born in the biology of love. We have taken an approach as humanity is there like a monkey to fight each other all the time. So we have gone through a lot of traumatic events as a species, as human beings, and these live in our body. No, they live in our body and they manifest themselves as beliefs. Now, so the first is identifying these beliefs that I'm holding that are continue perpetrating the traumas that we all know and that exist in our current society. And then the next step again is in the moment of presencing and the ability to be somewhere in the not knowing without an agenda and with openness comes another form of healing, which is the beautiful surprise of what happened at that point. The thing that we don't expect, the thing that we don't imagine, because we are again culturally trained that you have to approach this in this way and you have to know what the answer is and you have to always know, but knowing narrows the path. The moment that I'm in the not knowing, I can be, first of all, discovering things that I don't expect, but more than that, interact with people from a completely different point of view, because I'm letting go of all the judgments and things that I normally carry around with me about this person is good, this is bad, and this other one does something I don't like.
You put it in a so beautiful way. It's a very beautiful, how did you say it? I have this image, I know Tenchi, I have been there, and I have this image of a forest, the place, the garden, the beautiful garden, and this healing operating as we arrived, and this intelligence, this articulate our intelligence with our body and with our mind integrated and our heart working in. And I have several very beautiful memories from there, from us working in this context with our feet in the ground, our heart connected with each other and connecting with the surrounding and with the life. It's a very precious thing that you guys are doing there, working with the forest, working with permaculture, taking care of the buildings, taking care of the bodies, exploring this edge of the culture and what is the next thing, what could be the next thing. And one of the things that for me is also very precious, this is a lot of elements that are new. We don't have so many spaces with these perspectives on the like seeing the present and the future with that broad view that you are bringing to the table. You, Rita, and Tenchi as a proposal, and as a game world. And one of the aspects that I really touch me, and it's the few places that I know that is working in Portugal around that, is the team. Can you say more about the team and the explorations and what you are trying to do since the beginning to have that team, and how do you see the vision of a team working in Tenchi? And also what you learn with this experience that you are bringing, that I think it's so precious, that experimentations that you guys are doing there.
Thank you. As I said before, I think goes back to this statement I made earlier. We are not trained so much to do this. So we had a lot of experimentation and a lot of good things that have come through working in a team in Tenchi, and a lot of challenges as well. And I feel I really appreciate the question, because I find this actually the biggest challenge. And in the sense that I can say the biggest issue actually in general for teams that comes from me, from the 5 years now of experience of Tenchi, is commitment. And I think that this is related probably to the sense of how are we approaching things. It's what wants to emerge, or what my idea is, or what needs to be. I feel that we started with a team that was a great team to start, and it was really good to do the first steps for things to be getting going once the space was here. And at some point that team was done, so I feel one of the biggest things that I learned is that I'm always usually someone that always want to go with the same people from the beginning to the end. I haven't seen that to be happening in this project yet. I feel that has been people and groups that have been there for different steps. And the part for me personally to let go is say, okay, it's okay that happens. And be able to see that, different people have different roles at different times. And that now, for example, we are after the pandemic, there was at some point of the pandemic, there was no team, because also there was no clarity about anything. And that also had a good role in itself to bring things back to, okay, there's nothing yet, or there is nothing in this moment. So everything that comes up can be built from now on. And then from that moment on, now people have started to join and work here, to the point that then in the next month or so, we are creating another team to work on that. But these are different people, and they are the people that are here now. And so that's, for me, is the part of the emergence that it's very challenging in many ways, even with people that work at this level, because oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, I think it's more comforting to have a 10-year plan. We don't have a 10-year plan. We have more a constant listening of what wants to come up, which at some level works really well, but on the other level, it feels less secure, no? And I feel that this is an interesting, it's an interesting dimension of the project, and that affects and impacts the teams in the sense that the people that join need to be able to tolerate the state of not knowing, and being able to work with that and come up with things while they're emerging. And I don't know if this answers your question, but this is what came up for me around that.
I think that is beautiful. That is your experience.
Yeah.
For me, like you said, we need a lot of stuff in the future. We need to experiment a lot. And for me, the goal is not to have a solution. The goal is to have this experience that you guys are doing that could really put it on the table, could help others to also bring their experience and try to find solutions for, because maybe a thing that works in Tenchi, maybe it doesn't work in another place, but it works in Tenchi and could also inspire others to experiment different things in their places and find the ways of doing that. For me, that is the goal. And what you shared is your goal, is your experience. And from, yeah, I saw some of them very near, and for me is a very important experience that you have. As an epicenter, like you said in the beginning, the epicenter for the transformation of humanity, I saw these elements, the forest, the spaces for events and the healing, you support with the TRU, and you have this perspective of the body and the embodiment as a proposal for the world and for transformation. You have spaces for doing stuff. You have a gardener, if you're a gardener, you use practice in the forest and in the garden that are regenerative. You use permaculture and things like that. And what other elements you saw that is necessary for a center like this, an epicenter like Tenchi? We have this one. There's anyone missing here that we didn't? And also a team experimenting and going together.
I don't know if it's another element, but I can share in a different way what you thought, because it's part of the process. So, for example, now after 4.5 years, I have the feeling that we are working along 3 paths, and the paths. Sorry. I thought I turned off WhatsApp, but I didn't. I'm doing it now.
3 paths. You are saying the 3 paths.
Yeah, so for me, this tie down back to the emergence. So I always go back to that in some sense. It's like the paths emerged through the emergence of symbols. So it was like, how do I listen to the emergence? That's for me is one of the things. How do we listen? Not do I personally, do we listen to that? So from the very beginning, I think some of the times also you were here in these events. We had events and invited people to contribute what they sensed in being here. So like one first symbol that emerged is the symbol of the spiral. So it came out really even before the space was a space that we had available, and then it continued. And so it was at some point trying to see, okay, what is this spiral? No, and what for me the spiral is about is really like one of the bridging one of the divides. So that the spiral is about the spiritual divide, the disconnection from the higher self. So I go spiral or infinity sign, that kind of mathematically equivalent, all are the invitation to go in and out at the same time. So find as deep as I can. The moment that I go as deep as I can, I'm outside and I'm connected with all the spirits around. So a set of the work that happens here has that type of exploration. And then there is the being together, the team, what you talk about, which is the circle. That's also another symbol that emerged very early, and that brought, okay, so whatever many of the practices and our main practice that we have every day is a circle-based practice in which there is even if there are other differences in power, and we can go in this conversation later if you want, there are places in which all the voices are heard in the same way. And I think that there's a really other very important piece of the situation. And then there are many of the approaches that are coming into Tenchi that have this base. And then the last one is really the way to bridge through the ecological divide. So the symbol is a tree. And that again emerged over time. And at some point it was supposed to be the logo, which is now becoming a completely different thing. But like the connection with nature. And then there are, a bunch of practices that focus on that. And many of the practices focus on one or two or all of the three, the things together. And I think that in this moment, these seem to be the three main elements that are flowing through the project.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you. The Tenchi has, the land has an owner, and you are also experimenting with the ownership. What can you share about that? About what you are learning with the ownership, and you are at the same time guardian. What can you share about that?
So I'm together with my husband. We are the owner at the moment of the place, and I think that over time this has not always been the best situation, in the sense that in this circle context, there is an intrinsic power dynamic that cannot be taken away. That's it's just it can only be acknowledged, but until things are different, it cannot be taken away. So that the direction that is the most inspiring at the moment, and that we are exploring, but that we have to still discover all the details and more at the legal level, for me, is the direction of collective ownership. So I've been, for many years now, very interested in this collective ownership model, which is the timeshare. Which is something that has been used, it's a tool, and it has been used for evil in some way in the world, because if you read about timeshares, people only complain about how much high pressure selling strategies people have when they try to sell you a week in the Algarve, and how hard it is to then sell it back to someone else. But as far as I can tell, with my limited legal experience, at the actual structural level, it's a way for people to co-own a space, not only just the space. The idea would be, for example, to co-own a space for a certain time with a certain role. So trying to find ways in which people can all have ownership of the space. But for example, Marco comes every year for a week to do a workshop at Tenchi. And so you come as a workshop leader for 1 week, and you buy that week for yourself as a workshop leader. No, but you could instead want to have a month as a gardener, and that would be a different cost and a different situation. So how do we put these things together, the space, the time, and the roles? I think is something that can be very powerful to create a distributed ownership with structure, but it's at a very embryonal level in this moment, even if I do really hope that this year is going to be a resolution from this point of view. So the direction is to find alternative to the fact that we are the owners and the other people are not.
Okay, thank you for sharing your experience and perspective. And there was a path to arrive here. You said 5 years 4 years and a half. I'm running for 5 years, more or less. There's been a path. Where was the 3 main stepstones that you go personally to arrive to Tenchi and to this game world?
What are 3 main stepping stones, you said?
Yes, that you, in your path, Rita, to arrive to Tenchi, to arrive to this moment and to this
Okay.
with building or this game world of Tenchi.
Well, I think the first stepping stone has been for me personally when I went from being a scientist to start studying somatic and body and improvisation, which was what is now 24 years ago. And so that was the first step, because I came from this mind, and finding this other world was a totally wow. And especially the improvisation part, because I always, kind of had a very naive, maybe perception of what improvising was. You just go there and you do something. But instead, it's a tool. In a way, it's like improvisation is theory U before theory U was written, because a lot of the training of improvisation is just to look at your action and see the moment in which you see a violation of what you thought that you were going to do. No, so it's really seeing the beliefs, your beliefs in action through your body. And so that was a huge stepping stone. Another part was within improvisation, contact improvisation, because that created what I think is, when I talk about the circle, is not just about sitting in circle, but is also having interaction with people from this level of equanimity. And contact, because we all have bodies, because we all have weight and we have different parts of it, gives you this opportunity to play on how you can create something with other people without all of the construction that you would have otherwise culturally, and see how playful and interesting and fun that is, and how important listening is in that. And then I think the other piece was, in a way, was a lost dream. Years ago in California, my husband and I were part of a group that was creating what at that time it was called a mystery school. And the name of the space was called Eleusis. And for 3 years we were, working with this beautiful 1,000 acres piece of wilderness in Northern California, and that never happened. Something came up, and the project never materialized. And even if it took a long time to be able to digest that and take a next step in a similar direction, it always stays there as a seed in thinking, it really, there is a lot of potential in having a space and inviting people to practice certain type of things. So I think that these were the three main stepping stones.
Okay, thank you, Rita. And you said you work as a scientist. You left your work for dedicating yourself to Tenchi.
Yeah. Yes. But I left my work as a scientist the first time, as I said, in 1998.
Okay.
And I had dove back into it when I came back to Portugal, not necessarily because of my wanting, but because of circumstances. But definitely, yes, I left it because.
And that brings you to Portugal, and from Portugal to Sintra, to Tenchi, yeah, in a way. And Rita, during doing this work for this 5 years, you and Paul, and it's you need to put a lot of energy. You need it's a big effort, and it's a big place also. And what you do for taking care of yourself what you do on the road for maintaining your integrity, for taking care of you and your being. What is the practice? What I don't want to influence your answer. What is the kind of stuff that you do to taking care of yourself as a person, as someone that is building this, but has a body, has a heart, has a mind, has the energy and all of that?
Well, one first thing is one thing that we do collectively, but I feel it has a huge impact on the person, is we have a daily practice of social presence in theater, which is the body arm of Theory U. And I find more and more every day that the practice is a fundamental piece of taking care, in the sense that if it wasn't there, well, actually, if nobody else is there, I'm also still there, because it does bring care to me.
Mm.
The other thing that I noticed that is really important for me personally in taking care is to create inside me a culture of there is time. Because my tendency personally would be to always rush, and it had to be done last week. But instead, coming to, taking time, and instead of running, take 3 breaths. That really helps. And more and more, going to the ocean, see the ocean. It's a really important part. Participate, find not just compassion, but also just caring of, like, it could be overwhelming if I felt that I would have to participate in everything that happens here, and sometimes there are amazing things that happen and just, I don't have it in me to be there, and being okay that I'm not there, so I feel in a sense is like finding a way of holding space and delegating things to be happening here, even if I'm not the person that makes that happen.
And Rita, how the Tenchi is a reflection of your incense? What is the incense of Rita Venturini? We have been talking about the incense of Tenchi and the game world. And what is your incense? How you describe yourself as this incense?
I say it again because my audio is actually a little bit. I didn't understand exactly how
we are talking about the incense of Tenchi, and
Mm-hmm.
you are one of the game world builders, meaning that you have an incense as a human being, as a being, and your incense is contaminating Tenchi and the game world. What is your incense? How
My
do you?
essence.
Yes,
Essence.
yes.
Okay. I feel like my sense, my essence is around that we could all be getting along. That I don't know how to say it otherwise, but like this sense of like, it's at least at this person level, and then maybe we could think about previous things that happened in previous life. But in this life, I felt a lot of my essence was like being in places that were made unlivable by intolerance of people one towards the other, and I felt that was really difficult. Like, it wasn't like my family of origin, it wasn't a harmonious family. It was a family in which there were tensions and things, and the sense of always having the sense of like a wasted potential, wasted energy, how much time we put into this I'm better and is my idea and all of these different things, and just really feeling like, well, no, we could all be doing way better than we're doing, you know, and the sun is beautiful, and you know, like just a sense of like how much drama we insert, how much drama we are culturally trained to insert in our life, and how we could step back from that. That feels a lot of what I bring to this, and yeah.
Thank you, Rita. And one of the things that I'm noticing, interview people and meet projects and game worlds all around the country, is that next to 2/3 of the projects of the game worlds are built by a couple, like you and Paul. Can you bring, what is the experience of doing that in a couple? What is the challenge? What works? What didn't work? What is your experience in doing that? What can you share about that?
Well, that was, I think it's a segue from what I just said, because my husband and I, Paul and I, have been together for 31 years. You know? So, but it was the first time in 2018, at the end of 2018, when Tenchi came about, that we were the two of us on a project together. No, we had lived together for all of this time, had a child, and you know, always worked the one office next to the other office, you know, all these different things, but different than doing. So it has required a lot of paying attention and a lot of trusting of I don't want to say beliefs, it's more faith of, you know, seeing that. I remember at some point during the pandemic, there were a lot of conflicts here, like really hard conflicts, you know, and the resolution, which ended up to be the resolution, was that the people that were here left and we stayed, but we could have just stayed and thought, okay, they were the problem, and now we are set. But I feel that theory and other ways of thinking systemically was pointing to, if there was conflict, the conflict was also here. And so a lot of the time since then has been uncovering what the conflicts, where all of those things that have been you know, swept under the rug, and that, you know, still we could function and we could be in a relationship, and maybe even move the project in some way, but that then nothing could have really happened in a very organic and wholesome way unless we dealt with our own issues. So I feel that there is at some level the great thing that if you are already in a relationship, and especially if the relationship is very established, you don't have so many questions around the commitment, or is this person going to stay around, you know, like, you know that they're staying around. But not to take for granted that even if you have been around and been together for many years, nothing is going to come in the way when you're actually trying to work together, and especially when you're trying together to have a role of leadership. And I think from the personal point of view, actually, that has been probably the most interesting part to work with. Not always the easiest part, but to work with this particular dynamic. So how do we do, the two of us, do this, being in the spirit of what this is? Because if we are not, if it's not here, the spirit, then it's not going to be in the rest of things either, you know. And I'm sure that we are far from having finished peeling the onions of that thing, but definitely there has been a lot of improvement.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And the last question that I want to make is, what is the question that I did that you'd like me, that I did and I didn't? What is the question that you want me to
What
do
is
to
the
you?
question that I want to? No, I don't know. I don't have a question that you
Okay.
didn't. It seemed to me we talked about all the questions that I could
Yes,
even have
yes,
thought about.
for sure. We talk about a lot of questions. It is beautiful, and thank you, Rita, for accepting this change and go with me in this conversation.
Thank you, Marco. It was a great pleasure. It is a great pleasure.